variable visualizer, one of the plugins that I guess recently got very famous. I'm not sure for how long we've been working on it. I can see everywhere in it, different channels that everybody's talking about it, and it has a reason.
When we talk about the border radius, you want the outer radius of this toggle component to have some sort of mathematical relationship with the inner radius, so that no matter what sort of gap we give, they always maintain the optimal balance between each other. When you want to set up your design system initially, you want to have your color scale, the plugin also allows you to directly generate the entire color scale.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Now and Next. My name is Kia, host and producer of Now and Next. This is the bonus part of episode 2 from my talk with Mr. Biscuit. In this part, Mr. Biscuit is going to show me the features of Variable Visualizer plugin in practice. Don't forget to watch and listen to the main part of the episode if you haven't done yet. I personally know that you have developed a lot of nice plugins. I watched one of the videos that you were presenting, I guess Variable Visualizer, and there I saw other plugins and open source design system libraries that you have made. Before we get into it, I just wanted to mention, and anybody who's listening to us, most probably in this part we will have some visual presentation. So I really recommend you to come back and watch the video version of this podcast, or video cast, so to say. That's going to be more interesting, I have to say. But yeah, don't worry about that. You can find the link to all channels that I'm going to publish this episode in the description of the episode. So feel free to watch the video version as well. This was a disclaimer I wanted to mention. And now back to you. You call yourself now design architect. I want to get one step back and ask you, in your opinion, what is a design system? And after that, what a design architect is doing in general in design and development pipeline?
Okay, so first of all, a design system is the, let's say, conglomerate of code base, where you have code components, you have your documentations for each of the component, how they're used, their APIs, and plus the UI assets that the designers it's able to use. Plus this entire documentation for your design foundations, the typography skills, the spacing skills, the color skills, etc. And basically, and also the probably also the methodology that you followed to come up with these skills, how they are initially thought, and in the future, based on that documentation, and you can further iterate them probably, and also the brand identity, etc. So this is, in terms of assets, what you would have for the design system. And but the functionality of having a design system is so that you find, when building the different products, when iterating on future versions, you will find that all the components that you're using is closely locked step in step, is that they're not drifting away from the design intention. Nowadays, I know a lot of people can just create a product entirely based on one prompt of AI. We saw that a couple of days earlier on the release of Gemini 3 Pro. And that is entirely true. But you have to think about it from another aspect, is that if you want to maintain that product and adding more and more features down the line, you will inevitably end up in a pit of death, where all of these decisions autonomously made by the AI becomes more and more invisible. Because let's be realistic, the AI outputs 1,000 lines of code per 10 minutes. How is it possible for anyone to follow what the AI is doing each step along the way, right? You just click accept, not knowing what is done, but then you test the result. The result might look look like it has achieved the task you've given it, but deep down inside, if you don't look the code base and you don't analyze what it has done, you don't really have the full certainty that it is not generating something that is duplicate. Maybe it has already generated the this button that you are using here before, but in the next page is generating another button that looks extremely similar, but it is a different component. And so having a design system will let you escape that inevitable pit of death, because you will have full control in what component you are allowing the AI to use. And the styling for all of these components are then also directly controlled in your uh, design tool of choice, either it's Figma or whatever else. So and that is in functionality what is a design system, and how I see that it still will play a key role in the coming future.
Part of a design system, or basically a result of using a design system to escape inconsistency, to escape this, as you mentioned, the dead end that might happen while you're developing without having a very systematic approach. The thing is that you see design systems from both perspectives, because in my case, I'm a designer. I usually try to focus on building the architecture of the system. And in collaboration with the others, we also work further on the other aspect of the design system, like governance, like as you mentioned, the methods, even the communication channels. These are all a part of the bigger system, I would say. But my main job most probably is just focusing on building the architecture of the variables, tokens, in collaboration with the developers, and we find a way how we can communicate the design in a proper way with the dev team. But you have both perspectives, I would say. How important it is that design and developers, or designers and developers, work together for building a proper design system?
Yeah, so right now, what I am working at is the design dev hybrid. So the job title is a design system architect, is basically uh, starting from the design and ending at the tangible code components that the dev team can reuse to build the product. So we are not building the product ourselves, but we are delivering uh, the actual code components. We were not ending at having the UI design assets. So this will be, I think, the key differentiator between a design system designer versus a design system architect, is that the design system architect has to go a bit further in thinking about what architecture your design system uh, needs to be built upon that best suits the further scalability and the tech stack that your company is using. And so, for example, whether you use a slot, whether you use variants or parametric tokens to facilitate the different APIs of a certain component, and how you would compose different components together to form a organism, to form a page, or let's say a template. And so these are all how you architect the design system. Because if a design system is poorly architected, what happens is that I have been working with teams that only build atomic components and call that their design system, and then you will end up designers not knowing what exact component to use, because a lot of places a chip and a button look strikingly similar, and an input and a, let's say, search bar or whatever on the on the Outlook, the thumbnail looks extremely similar. You're gonna have a lot of components that uh, using one or the other doesn't matter too much, because designers mostly focusing on the visuals. And so if you don't give them patterns to directly use, that they have only these atoms, then you will inevitably end up with places where a wrong component is used simply because it looks no difference to a visual designer. And so that comes to the importance of how having to architect not only the uh, technical aspect of how your tech stack is set up, but also how your components are to be consumed both by the designer and also by the developer. What are the experience while they are consuming your components? So you're kind of doing a service to the developer and to the designer. So you want to deliver the best possible user experience when they consume it. So instead of having to recompose a existing pattern, I think it's easier to offer a existing pattern that is shared across different pages and let the designer directly drag and drop and then change a few parameters and recompose the subcomponents that is within that pattern component itself.
Okay, I guess it's a best time now to take a look at what you are doing for or in Variable Visualizer, one of the plugins that I guess recently got very famous. I'm not sure for how long you've been working on it, but I can see everywhere in the different channels that everybody's talking about it, and it has a reason, because it's very, very, I mean, it's seriously impacting the way that people can create and manage the tokens. And it's also introducing this node-based user interface for, again, creating and managing the tokens and connecting with each other, which I also talked with you yesterday. I was always hoping that I see this kind of UI natively in a Figma, but I guess we need to wait for that. So let's start by talking about, I know why you made this tool. You already explained us that the tokens were always one of the challenges that you had in your own basically working flow. But how the variable visualizer is going to help the designers? Maybe can you show us a little bit, a couple of tricks?
My screen. One of the things that you wants to do when you're setting up your design system is, for example, when we talk about the border radius, you want the outer radius of this toggle component to have some sort of mathematical relationship with the inner radius, so that no matter what sort of gap we give, they always maintain the optimal balance between each other. Because you can see that if I use a math operator, uh, I can definitely end up at much consistent, much better results. Whereas if I am not using a math operator and manually typing in the different radius for the different elements. And so in this case, if I just do the outer radius minus the gap or padding, then it will end up at the optimal radius for the inner element. And whereas this if you scale this up for different sizes, then having to type in these values manually becomes verbose and it's error prone if humans have to maintain all of that numbers. And another aspect is when you want to set up your design system initially, you want to have your color scale, and the plugin also allows you to directly generate the entire color scale based on one base color and define the number of steps, whether you want hue shift and then the algorithm that you want to use to generate it. And also, once the scale is generated, you can also make the contrast calculations for all of these colors, so that when you use different colors, you will see different background and foreground is utilized. Because what this color contrast calculation does is that it will compare the foreground and the background to see which one has the better contrast. So it would use one of those two that has the better contrast as the foreground. So this is what you see right now. So I connect the darker color to the candidate B and a lighter color to the background, and candidate A remains the white color. And so between the white and this darker green color, it chooses the white right now, but in other cases, it will choose the darker uh, color for the foreground, depending on the contrast. And another thing that I've recently shipped is the AI assistant, and this AI assistant is able to create everything based on just one prompt that you ask of it. You see now not only the colors, but also the spacing, the typography is all being generated based on one prompt. And then you can also audit and ask the AI assistant to do the contrast checking for you. And you can also, let's say, if you're collaborating with another designer working on the token, you can come in and ask the AI assistant what is going on, like what is the current variable setup, so it can do a much better job at explaining than if you are just digging through the variable system yourself. And there's much more functionalities in the AI assistant aspect that I didn't mention right now. Um, but yeah, if
Just
I
maybe I ask one question about the AI because
yes,
I'm very
yes, please.
excited myself. Let's imagine I have a component level tokens like what you
Yes.
have here. And then I have also semantic layer. If I ask AI, it's going to connect automatically these two layers to each other, or
Yes.
is there such a...
You can ask AI to form the aliasing connections for you across different collections. That is one of the features that I think is very time consuming if we have to do it manually. And AI is best at spotting patterns. And so it's able to do this aliasing for us much quicker than we can. And then you only need to pay it very minimal wage at this point in time. It's few cents. Whereas if
I
you have
can't hide my smile because I'm very happy. I mean,
you see
anybody
right
who
now,
works on a design
it's like
system, they can see.
four cent spent for this entire collection to be
But
generated.
how they calculate, like how do users need to pay for this service? Do you have any monetization model?
I am being very fully transparent. So the amount of money that the user is actually paying, variable visualizer is equivalent to the money that we pay to the uh our large language model provider. So monthly, if you look at the professional, is $12 a month, but this also gives you $12 uh, to spend in AI assistant itself. So this is basically right now um, purely covering the cost of large language model operation. And so for the plugin itself and every other feature, we're not even charging anything yet.
So
So
no profit margin, I would say zero.
yeah, exactly. So this is basically how we started this variable visualizer plugin. It was just to scratch one of my own itches that our own uh, design system setup requires visualization to be understandable across different members in the design team, and also be understandable for further maintenance, even on the creator himself. You know, a couple days, then you will forget what this and that variable is for. Why did I build the aliasing like that, etc. So if we look at the so what the variables look like in Figma natively is in this table format, and at any one point in time, you will only see one table, and then you can see another table by going to the dropdown and choose another collection. But when it comes to when you want to instinctively see where this value is coming from, you have to click it and then trace. Now in this example that I'm showing, I have very few variables, but imagine in a real example, you would have to scroll a long miles, my designers say. They had to scroll miles to see which collection this is coming from. And then they had to manually trace the collection, and now I just forgot the name. So I had to go back and remember the name that this is called input button BG. And
Huge pain.
Yeah, that was a huge pain. And so this, you see that this is further coming from another collection. So then I need to trace again. So this is the reason why when we are setting up a token structure, it becomes simply just impossible to add further features because we start to lose sight of existing features, of how the functionalities are working together. And so when you look at the same variable structure in variable visualizer, it is much more let's say visual and much easier to understand. Now, if I look at the same input button BG, you double click this, let's say, you double click this input port, it will bring you to this, and then you double click here, it will bring you to this. So the entire dependency graph is super simple. And then you can see that when you have one variable selected, all the other unrelated stuff are let's say disabled and faded out. Only the relevant ones light up so that you can visually see like what is relevant to this variable, where it's going to, as well as where it's coming from. And so this makes the maintenance and also experimentation of a variable structure much easier than if you are just looking at the table itself. So this fully utilizes a two-dimensional canvas that you can pan around and zoom in and zoom out. And on zooming out, I also have this level of detail implemented, just like strategy games that you play, like Total War, where you zoom out, you see the map of different countries, but if you zoom in, you see the details where your troop is standing. So if you zoom in, you see the connection for each of the individual variables. But if you zoom out, you see the connection that is happening between the collections. So this collection is uh, having something to do with this, and this collection is having something to do with this collection. So that is the core idea of why we call this plugin visualizer, because it turns something in a database format, from a table format to this two-dimensional canvas, which Figma itself honestly is already a two-dimensional canvas. And then I'm
True,
so
yeah.
they they didn't think of the variables this way, but I had to manually build it because this is exactly what I'm thinking. Like, Figma, come on, you're already doing it this way. Why don't you like reuse the canvas and then let us see the variable structures visually? Instead, you have to show us a table. Come on, so I have to do that, and then I did that. So, that was part of the irony, but also how in the earlier parts I mentioned, whenever I face a problem, I try to tackle that problem from the very root, instead of scratching on the surface how to cope, because I see a lot of people coping with the table. They say they simply because right here they cannot see multiple tables at once. They simply export the variables from Figma to a third-party platform like Airtable or Excel, and then that way they can open multiple tables at once. But that is coping. That is not like solving it at the very core. You still don't have a GUI, a graphical user interface, so to say. You still have this database format, and so that's why.
You mentioned exporting. I just want to maybe ask quickly a question that is it possible also to do export the tokens and variables directly from variable visualizer, or?
Yes. We are doing the direct variable export in the variable visualizer plugin itself, because one feature that I find lacking right now is that there's no way for you to export these collections natively yet. They mentioned that in this schema, but we don't know when that is going to be launched yet. It's right now in the closed beta test, but how people are exporting is that they open variable visualizer, they export the full data as JSON, and then you can save it wherever you want, be it a GitHub or local. You can check, like, for example, right now this is the JSON that is exported. You have different collections. This collection is called the primitive, and then you have this many variables, and each of the variable in the primitive collection has their own value depending on different modes. And then you have all the collections. So now is the semantic collection, and then you also have the component collection. Right now, the 3 collections that I have. So I see a lot of people also export their variables in the DTCG format, which will split each mode into different files. So for example, if I have um, 2 mode right here, you're gonna end up with 2 files. But in variable visualizer, we are condensing all of the data into one JSON export, so that it makes it much tighter for the uh, storage of the JSON, and making the working with the JSON, either you're using large language model or the developer himself, a nicer user experience.
Mhm. Amazing. And about the namings, is there any way to, I don't know, either use the AI or any feature to fix the naming issues that usually happens a lot while we are creating new variables?
Yes, yes, yes. So, for example, let's say that I want to name all of these, not using the dash, but just using the slash. We can right click and rename all of these, and I match the dash, and then change all of them to this, and then I can hit rename, and this changes everything in one go. You can just drag a selection box to select all of these, and then hit Command R to open the rename, and say if I want to change the BG to background, that way. So everywhere you see the BG got changed to the background. And there is also another way that you can do this, which is to use AI. It's the same, that you only have to have this collection selected. So now you see, without any collection selected, you see all collections. This is the context. But if you select one, the AI can focus on this one collection, and then you can ask it to give you different naming. So in this example, what should I do? What sort of naming we're looking for?
I just asked because, you know, a lot of discussions happen all along the way when you're working in a design system, especially with the developers, that in which format they like to get the variables and tokens. Uh, can we maybe introduce a naming standard and ask the AI to change based on that standard? A little bit
Yes,
more like
yes,
a.
yes.
So let's ask, for example, maybe I would like to prepare these namings proper for CSS variables that the developers can easily use it.
For all of these variables, to be using CSS namings, right?
Yeah, that is
To
more
be
understandable.
using CSS naming conventions, so it's more understandable by devs. So let's correct a few spelling mistakes, and then let's send it. So as the AI is working, you will see that there is a thinking progress, and then once it's done, it's going to make the changes, and then you can see where the changes is coming. There is this incoming changes in a panel that you can see what are the stuff that it changed, um, and then you can either reject or accept all the changes. So now let's say that it changed the input radius to input border radius, etc. You can see it right here. I can also click this, and then it will bring me to the exact thing that it is mentioning. So which got blocked by this panel
Cool.
itself. Yeah. So let's say input blur now is called input backdrop blur, and the input stroke is now called the input border, because in CSS you don't have stroke. So a lot of these things you have to do manually, and then human mistakes can crawl up. Some maybe this is called button stroke radius. This is called input border width. That's what happens with humans. But with AI, it's able to change these namings conventions pretty, let's say, consistently. Yeah.
True. So that's amazing. Again, I said I cannot really hide my smile sometimes when I see what you're doing, because some of the things that this tool can solve is a huge kind of a pain in majority of the processes when you want to work on a design system, and especially if you don't want to invent the wheel from scratch. So sometimes you have to come up with your own custom built tool to facilitate some of the processes. But Variable Visualizer does a lot of stuff, and I would say myself, I'm very amazed. Also, is there a possibility to connect the variables that we have here directly to Git and then push the changes when we change something in the variables and see the... Oh yeah, you
Yes.
said already. Ah, okay,
Now,
that's
I
great.
am already signed in to GitHub. Yeah, you can definitely just directly push to either GitHub or GitLab once
GitLab.
it's connected. Because now, if I do this on screen, you will see my credentials. So yeah.
But that means if I change something a primitive and then push it to the Git, and then the
Yes.
developers would basically see the changes, and that's amazing.
Yes, exactly. So
Amazing.
if you are only working in the design aspect, you don't want to touch the code base, you can just push your design changes to the code base that your company is using, and then you don't have to open the VS Code yourself, because the developer then only needs to take a pull for the new changes that you pushed, and then that's connected, that stays in sync.
One another challenge that I have a lot myself is handling the component level variables, because I make a lot of variables for each component in different variants, in different states. If I really want to, isolate each component with their own properties.
Yes.
And I wonder if AI can also help here, or if you have any feature that can help managing different components, because I don't want to also create different collection for each component.
Sure. Yeah. So for example, if we the input itself is gonna have different states than, let's say, a button. This might be let's say input idle. This is gonna be shared, but the input would have, like, let's say that it is active. Somebody's typing there, or that it is at let's say focus. Some of these are probably not going to be shared on the button, because on the button you will have pressed, and then definitely not active, because it's not an indicator. So then we can call this component itself just the input, and then we can actually just duplicate this, and then call this the button component. And it can have different modes. Let's say this is the pressed, and this is how you can actually differentiate what each of the component behave like. They can behave entirely differently, and then if you want to further distinguish between the actual colors, the border colors, you can definitely let the AI do that. And then
Just to clarify here, now we have two basically collection, and
yes,
for each state we are using basically the mode.
yes.
Okay,
But
I
now
see.
the colors are a bit the same. So let's ask the AI to change a bit of the color, so that they appear more, let's say, realistic. I'm gonna say I'll just use the Mac Whisper for this because it's faster, and then I will now prompt it like so. I will say, "Hey, can you please change the input and the button collection uh, to make each of the different modes using a different aliasing, using a different color that is most fitting for the input and for the button, for the exact mode that it is." for each different mode, for each different mode, let's say. Yeah, let's send it. And again, so then you wait for the AI to do the work. It doesn't have to be always, let's say, perfect on the first go. Well, let's see what
That's
happens.
how generative AI is working. So
Exactly. So it cannot determine which color variable to alias to. So it needs to clarify the requirements, and it is asking me what exact color do I mean. So I got
So we need to give basically more context about the semantic level. Is that what he's asking, or?
yeah, I think so. Yes. So I didn't give it the context of the, see, it read the input and the button itself. So let's actually start a new chat and then give it the context of everything. In this case, it will be able to see the not only the primitives but also the semantics, and so then it's able to do the aliasing much better, because previously I only gave it the access to these two collections.
Yeah.
So
There are
it
not
does.
much colors there.
Yeah, exactly. And also the thing is that currently the large language model is pretty cautious. It doesn't want to break the stuff that it doesn't understand. And so now it's is having much more confidence, and then it did the thing that I asked for. And so you see now, I think if I put them two side by side, there is perhaps a little it's gonna be a little difference. You see, so the on press, the button background is the input background is using a different color than the button than the, wait, is it called the same? I think I probably
Yeah, we didn't change the name. I guess when you
I
copy,
forgot
you
to
just change.
change the name. I forgot
Maybe
to change.
that's also.
Yeah, let's actually get rid of the input. So these are gonna be instead called the button. So, and one of the cool things is that we can actually roll back. If I hit Command Z, I can actually, yeah, I can roll back to before the AI has made any change, you see. So now I will actually change the name from the input to button, so that the AI has better understanding, and I will just copy this and tell it to do the same thing again and give it all the context. So it then because I think the behavior is based on the naming of these tokens. If you call this input, then it's
True,
not
yeah.
a reason. Super good, yeah. But now let's see.
Understandable, yeah.
You see, now it made much more changes, and you know, look at the, for example, if I put the two side by side, you will see that these colors are totally different, from the text color to from the text color on the input and the text color on the button itself. So it's yeah. So, and also the icon color, etc. So yeah. So I think overall,
I want to also mention one cool thing, that
yes,
now you have one variable, which is the input button background for a
yes,
button that exists within the
within the
input, which have the same variables as the other one in the button itself, and they
yes,
are sharing the same values. And that's
yes,
interesting because kind of it kept the design consistent, and AI could make it happen, and that's interesting.
yes,
My experience using the node-based user interface is coming from Blender, the 3D
yes,
animation tool. I don't know if you had experience using it or not, but there you could create basically shaders, I don't know, the textures, and nowadays you can even create geometries using nodes,
yes,
which bring me to this point that being able to create procedural nodes, basically, or procedural variables that, for example, you mentioned one of the nodes that you have here, the math node or math operator, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
yes,
To create the scalings, to create, again, procedural value for the variables. That's an
yes.
amazing thing. I just wanted to mention that this part, if you can maybe create one scaling, color scaling,
I can create a color scaling, yes, but that is not the math operator itself. It's going to be the color scale generator right here, and then that is able to output to a collection that you select, and then it's able to generate the number of steps that you specify. For example, if I say 7, then it generates a 7 color. And then you can also specify the naming format. So say these are my in indigo, then everything is gonna be like this indigo. And then so you can also toggle the hue shift. It's slight changes having the hue shift or not. So let's say see if I can actually make the difference larger by choosing a different color. Yeah. So here, without hue shift, you will see that this right here, the second color here, is towards the yellow. But if I turn on the hue shift, it's much more vibrant green. And so this is where, and then you can also use different algorithm to generate. So it supports currently the OKLCH, the CAM16 UCS, and you see each different algorithm gives you different results in terms of skills generated. Yeah.
And is there any note that we can put between this, I don't know, the primitive level of the variables and the semantic to check the color contrast between the
Yes.
text color and the
Yes, you
backgrounds?
can. So that will be the contrast operator. So take any random background, let's say this. If used for the background, what would be the optimal color that goes for the foreground? So then let's say add a variable here, call that the foreground, and then you will see that if I have this connected, it will say that the white is the better candidate. But if I connect it to this, then it will say that the black is the better candidate. And of course, you can also change manually the candidate color yourself. So you can also, let's say, just double click here and choose, let's say, any color that you want. But uh, you can also drag any of the connect to any of the existing colors from your scale. So let's compare between this color and maybe this color for the two candidates, and then this one wins out at a APCA score of 76, which passes the contrast checker for APCA standards. If it fails, it will show, let's say, it would, for example, if I go this, it will fail, and then it will show red mark. Yeah. So
I
this
see.
is
Amazing. Yeah, that's amazing. And one final point from my side. One of the things I always imagine that it would be great to have it for managing the tokens is that if I can directly connect one token to one design properties. Is there such a functionality exists in the visual variable? Like, for example, I connect that foreground color to the fill properties of one layer in my design.
Yes. So that would be let's say if I have a frame, and then on top I have some text, and then I will connect these. I will have the text layer selected, and then I can drag the text layer inside, and then I can say connect to the fields, and then this text field color is connected. And then if I drag the frame, blah blah blah, to here, and then I can connect, let's say, any color here to the fields of the frame itself, and then it's connected like that.
Amazing. And can I do this for the component? Like, for example, I define a component with a specific properties, design properties.
Yes, you can. Yes, if this is a component, then it's the same. And what happens under the hood is that you have this variable bound to that
I see.
to that field. So the methodology for building this entire plugin is that I want everything to stay as native as possible, so that whenever you are actually creating something in the variable visualizer, it is instantaneously reflected in the table. So take, for example, now this collection here. If I add a new variable, let's say number, and then I give it a value of 14, then it's instantly synced to the table as well. And if I rename it to something new, and let's say I add a new mode in this collection, let's say this is the second mode, it will also be here as well. And when you change a color, it's also going to be synced to the table as well. So it's all of these are just like you can think of it as a shortcut to the table. So whatever you do is going to be stored in the table, but you don't, instead of like playing in the table itself, this is like a shortcut. Because imagine like if I want to make some aliasing, let me actually open the table so that you can feel the difference. Now, if I drag this line, no, not this one, but this one. If I drag this line and drop it, instantaneously you see this aliasing being made. Instead of having to go here and then go here and then type in finding the, I mean, even good luck finding the thing that you find. So it's like a shortcut, because it's already, you're already seeing it. It's already under your fingertip, depending on how you are grouping everything. So like if you're a tidy person, you can actually group these and then give it like a color, and then call this group, let's say my new, let's say, tester or whatever. You can even hide the group and show the entire group and then move it as a group. So yeah, that's the power of a canvas that you can visualize.
I love it. I truly love it. Okay, great. It was amazing to see variable visualizer, myself in person, and talking with you at the same time. That was great. I would say maybe let's have a very quick break and then have our last part of the talk. I would like to invite you today for the next episode. I believe there are a lot of stuff I want to talk with you. I need another extra episode for it, but yeah, so thank you for watching and listening to this part. You can find the link to the main part of the episode 2 in the description of this episode.